Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Another great episode. This episode is what I basically figured it would be. Because obviously this episode, I brought it up before, it's kind of a comparison to Gemma's whole situation. Like basically in season 3, there's that whole situation when Gemma went to that other planet. It was later on, but eventually they gave you a one-off episode that was entirely dealing with it. I figured there'd be an entire episode dealing with VIDS, and here we go. Lo and behold, we have it. And good thing they gave us the entire episode because we needed it with everything that went down. So it's crazy seeing first VIDS getting locked up like that. What's so interesting is before I never really thought about it too much how much this was going to affect VIDS, because basically VIDS is basically kind of in the middle of the crap storm, because the fact of the matter is everything that went down with the LMDs last season and just S.h.i.e.L.D. kind of being caught up in that crap storm, he has to deal with that. On top of the fact is that he doesn't know where his friends are, whether they're okay or not. Plus this is him right after dealing with the whole situation in the framework, so it's a lot to deal with. And the fact of the matter is he was locked up for 6 months. I thought it was so interesting, the whole like, oh, you're working and you're complaining about sports. The moment he started checking the magazine, what he was looking was like, oh, like editor's response, whatever it was. He was looking at those magazines. I was like, it's meant to be a message. I was like, at first I was like, okay, he's trying to get to a message to the team. He's hoping that they will read it, but he threw the magazine. So it's like, oh, they didn't get back to him. It's like, no, apparently that was to anyone who would read it. But it was interesting too that the person who ended up with me was, lo and behold, Hunter, which we have not seen Hunter since him and Bobby kind of got dissolved back in season 3. I love what they're doing, because obviously last season it was in a framework, but still we got Trip back and we got Ward. I mean, we got a good Ward instead of like a bad Ward. So that was just kind of pretty, I thought that was kind of pretty neat, that they kind of brought the character back too. And I also love it. It's like, oh, what about you and Bobby? It's like, well, we're kind of on and off, you know, we're kind of good distant wise. It's like, oh yeah, you know, cause, Adrienne Palicki, the actress who plays, Bobby, she's all filming the Orville. It's one of those funny things, which is kind of cool, sci-fi, nevertheless. But like I said, it was so interesting seeing all that VIDS has to deal with. And I thought it was kind of interesting too. His final thing was like, yeah, they were, you know, abducted by aliens and everyone got super pissed. I'm like, you know, really, VIDS said that as kind of like I literally have no other idea. So that's the only thing I can come up with. Spent 6 months trying to figure everything out. Like I said, went kind of a little mad and everything. So, and I also love, Hunter's buddies, that whole situation. I was like, Rusty, oh yeah, he's the best pilot money can buy. And then immediately the helicopter crash. I was like, that's super messed up, yet in a twisted way, very funny. It's like Rusty had all these preparations. Like we hear so much about Rusty. Oh, he was a paranoid. He had all this stuff stockpiled. He always believed people were looking out for him. And it's like, oh yeah, Rusty died. It's like, why couldn't we meet Rusty? That's so sad. Like Rusty was like, oh, there's Rusty. Oh, bam. Okay, I guess we don't get to know Rusty. So it seems that basically the guy who took them, his name is Enoch, which brings the question, like, it's everyone that was with Enoch. It seems like they probably are the creature, the species that he is too. So basically he came to this planet like 30,000 years ago. If you're familiar with the show Fringe, he's kind of like he's like an observer from Fringe, whereas the observers are from the future. He's actually from a different planet. He kind of describes himself as like, well, I'm basically kind of like an archaeologist, meant to just examine and just see how everything works out. But he's here because, and it's kind of an interesting thing too, because it's like, before now, he wouldn't have intervened. The reason why he grabbed the team is because of the prophecy, but also it's because normally they wouldn't intervene at all, but like the next step of things would be mass, extinction for the Earth, because we know what state it ends up in, which does, once again, because also this goes out the theory that, oh, it's not a multiverse thing. This is definitely a past and future situation. We finally got the year. It's 2191, as they put it. It's been 74 years. I made sure to do the math before they showed it. So I'm smart, even though I was too lazy to do the math in my head and use a calculator. But who needs those details, even though I included those details? Shut up. I'm sorry, I'm a little loopy right now. Not really loopy, just, I don't know, I'm in a good mood. Nevertheless, which does beg the question, like, since Daisy's in the future, how does she rip apart the Earth? Or not less that's some like propaganda people spoke about, or once again, not less it's one of those time things where it's like, well, in some point in the future, at time, Daisy did it, but then there's another version of her from the past who came back to stop it, which she did, but then, you know, the whole loop of it has to happen for things to kind of play out the way that, you know, like, in some other form of time that there's already a Daisy already ripping apart the Earth, where another Daisy has to go back in time with the rest of the team, go forward in time with the rest of the team and deal with that, so maybe it's something like that. Or maybe I kind of want to say it's probably like a propaganda thing to make people think Daisy did it, just to kind of lie, just to kind of make some urban legend behind it. We have no idea. It's kind of interesting too, because you had those government agents. I feel bad for those two that ended up getting killed because they were just doing their job. But the lady, that actress, I've seen her in so many different things. The first thing that comes to my mind is The Mentalist. She was on The Mentalist for a while. I think she was like wasn't she like an FBI agent or something like that? But nevertheless, she's popped up in many different things. But whatever that situation is going on right now, she's in the middle of it. Because it did make me wonder why Talbot's there. I mean, obviously, like, Adrienne Bastar is currently on Supergirl, which when I was watching Supergirl, I made the same comment of like, oh, you went from Marvel to DC. That's kind of funny thing like that. Actors doing that sometimes. Nevertheless, but it seems like this whole situation is out. I mean, maybe he's still recovering from his whole situation. I mean, it's also interesting too, because I brought it up earlier, the whole S.h.i.e.L.D. situation of like kind of the crap storm that they're in. Does beg the question, like, where are the rest of the members of S.h.i.E.L.D.? I mean, we got the main team. We know where they are, but where's everyone else that was kind of still around at the end of season 4 or so? But basically this all revolves around Robin. Which at first I was like, who is she? And I was like, oh, she can see the future. I was like, right, the little girl, like from season 3. The guy who had the ability to see people's deaths. Obviously, because he gave us a look at the whole situation with, what we would ultimately know eventually to be Lincoln's death. But that also brought up an interesting question, because it's like Daisy tried to save him, but it didn't work. So it turns into that question like, well, can the future actually be saved? Can you actually change anything or not? So also her mom, I don't think I commented on this when I think I covered one of those episodes back in season 3. I think that was around the time because it was like during the second half of season 3. I think that was it. But I don't know if I commented on it at the time. The actress who plays her mom, Lola, like best thing I know her from is Criminal Minds, which is interesting considering she wasn't in the show for very long. She's only in I don't even think she was in the full first season. I think she was only in like half of it maybe. But she's been in other stuff, but that's like my go-to, because I think that was the first thing I ever saw her in. But nevertheless, it's actually kind of rough with her situation too, because it's like, well, your daughter has the power to see the future, but not even just that. Time for her is just all so much that basically all of time is basically happening to her all at once. So she spends so much time inside her own head. Then we find out the reason why Fitz wasn't taken. And I kind of got that right in a sense of like Fitz is meant to get there at a different point in time to help out the team. Like I figured that whole situation at the end of last week's episode was like, no. He's there. He went back at an earlier point in time so that he could be there to kind of set everything in motion. I didn't realize it was only like a couple of days, but it kind of makes sense because he looks pretty much the same. So I was like, there's no way it was like that far into the like past / future that he went to, so that because I thought it was kind of interesting, because it's like, well, how did you set this whole thing up? Shouldn't you be considered a human? Well, it's like, well, Enoch and his people look like humans, so they can probably make the same argument like, oh yeah, this is Fitz, he just looks like a regular he looks like one of us. So because I think I made the comment too, like they don't know all the members of S.h.i.E.L.D. specifically, because if they did, they would have been able to point out, oh, you're Mac, you're Yo-Yo, you're Coulson, you're May. It's like, no, they haven't. They were only able to point out Daisy because Deacon pointed her out, so that was the only reason. So obviously they wouldn't immediately know who Fitz is. But once again, I brought it up last week's episode. If they hear Fitz's name called, especially with the whole conversation between Daisy and Simmons about the whole situation, then it's going to kind of blow their cover. But it was also interesting. I kind of felt like it was going to have to be something like that, where Fitz ended up getting frozen. Like that's the only way he was going to be able to time travel there. So that's, like I said, that whole situation is so fascinating. Because another interesting thing that this episode dealt with, and remember, this is him still coming off of the whole framework situation, and that it scares him a little bit, because like he talks, like there was that moment he pointed the gun to Enoch. It's like, take me to the seer or your future is going to end right here. And you saw like Hunter kind of look a little like, whoa, because that's never been fit. But subsequently, since the whole like framework situation, it's changed him. I mean, because even at the beginning, he was like, I'm sorry, like everything that's happened, like let me take the blame for it. Because basically he blames himself, because he's the one that helped Radcliffe create the whole Ada situation in the first place. He's kind of like the father to this whole like LMD situation, so he blames himself most of all. Plus people like Mace ended up dying, paying the price for what he did. So there's that whole situation too. So he wanted to punish himself. So, but it is kind of an interesting thing, because for him it's like, it scares him, because it's like that wasn't just out of nowhere. That wasn't programming. Because it took who he would have. They're like basically the framework it constructed a world where it's like, oh, certain events led you to becoming the person you are. Which, interestingly enough, like last season did set up his dad. I don't know if that's going to play a role or not. I mean, considering the fact is we're not in the past anymore. I thought that most of the episode took place in the past. It didn't go down the way I thought it was. I thought Fitz was going to basically have to deal with everything on his own. I didn't expect him kind of getting like caught by the government, which once again, we don't even know what that situation is about. Like, who are they? I mean, she can't be like a good person in the government. The fact that she killed two of her own people like that. So it's like, who is she working for? Is this something connected to the Kree? Like, are they behind this whole situation? It's also interesting seeing the lighthouse way in advance, too. Because even Enoch's like, they have no idea where it came from or who made it. So maybe that's something we'll kind of learn about soon enough. But just the fact is that that's where the Kree take up residence and stuff like that. It's just kind of interesting. Which also makes you wonder whatever happened to Robin, too. Still shelling out the future. I mean, well, we know that Hunter said that him and Bobby would take care of her and her mom, so. I'm also curious to see where we kind of ever get to see Enoch in his real form. We saw kind of a silhouette of it, like, in the premiere, but that's about it. But going back to what I was bringing up before, was the fact is that Fitz, like, it's something Hunter told him is like, you kind of have to find, like, with every light, there is a little darkness, which Fitz is like, I want to get rid of that darkness entirely, but it's like, you can't really do that. Once again, the whole yin and yang situation, it's like, oh, for every light, there's a little bit of dark, and for every darkness, there's a little bit of light. There's that beautiful balance. You got to find that balance, which is at the end to kind of imply, like, Fitz, you're going to have to tap into that bit of your dark side, because you were literally going up against some of the most deadly people in the galaxy, some of the biggest monsters, mobsters, got all around terrible people. These are other people he's going to have to make dealings with and cross paths with this whole Inhumans being sold in situations. So that also begs the question too, like, if Robin ended up having children, there might be, I mean, to be fair, that could be something that, well, I mean, it's been 70 some years, so there's still the possibility that Robin might still actually be alive. She just might be a very old woman. She might be on the whole, because there is a part of Earth where they were getting that message from. So it's like, maybe she's down there kind of issuing out stuff. Maybe she's still the seer. I mean, to be fair, we also know that anyone related to this whole situation ended up being killed by, Cassius, which not unless like, I mean, because remember, she was in the lighthouse previously, Robin and her mom, but who's to say that they ever stayed there? Could have easily been like, they left, so, because it was probably, Enoch that was Enoch was definitely looking after Fitz during all that time and stuff like that, so, but maybe she could have come back to the lighthouse and got caught up in whatever situation the Kree had going on, so. I don't know, like I said, this is a great episode. Like, this set up so much and bringing so much interesting aspects to this whole situation, which sadly means that we probably won't be seeing any more of Hunter, at least with this current situation, considering he's stuck in the past. I'm curious to see what they do with this season, because once again, there's a whole situation of like, well, the seasons are typically divided. There's connections between them, but like they're very two different story arcs, which they do have, like I said, connections. So I'm curious to see what the second half of the season is going to be like with this whole situation. Like, is the first half of it going to be mostly about this future arc, and then, like, the second half about something different, or is it all going to be that? We just have to wait and see. I'm so curious to see how this all plays out. I mean, I was happy about the whole Hunter situation really quickly, because I brought this up back when season 3 happened. Bobby and Hunter were supposed to have their own, like, spinoff called Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Most Wanted, but ABC never went through with it, so. Because that was around the same time they canceled Agent Carter, so this might be one of the last times we ever get to see him. I hope not. I hope something comes about that where it's like maybe they go back to, I don't know, maybe they'll go back to the prison or something. We'll just kind of have to wait and see on that, so. But I'm very interested to see what happens after this. Like, after Fitz has taken this time to become the person he's supposed to be to kind of blend in with this whole situation and, like, kind of going all subterfuge. It's also kind of interesting because you had that moment he was, what aren't those guns called icers? When he was using them at the end, because even like Hunter was like, yo, shouldn't I be doing the shoots while you handle the whole technical things? And it's like, and immediately my brain went, holy shit, like, you see Fitz going all like badass like that? It slows down as he turns around, starts shooting. And it's like, holy crap. I was like, I mean, Fitz knows how to defend himself, but like, really the one that went through it the most was Gemma. She's the one that kind of went through the most training, I think. But it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Maybe it's a little bit of whatever he went through the framework kind of trained him to, well, because that dark side in him kind of kicked in and everything. So, I don't know. I'm very interested to see what that was about. Maybe he's actually, I don't remember him getting trained like that. Like, I definitely remember Gemma getting trained, and so did Daisy, because that was kind of a big thing for her too. So, with May being her mentor, wasn't May Gemma's mentor too, or not? Or am I misremembering that? I don't know. All I can say is that the next episode is going to be very exciting. Sadly, we're going to have to wait a little while because the next episode, well, actually not that long, because there's just not going to be an episode next week, but there will be one after that, which will be on January 5th. So keep that in mind. No episode next week, but an episode the week after next on January 5th. We will have Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. return, and I'm super excited to see what goes down. Really quickly, now that I'm thinking about it, because I was bringing up that other group before, it's like, maybe she's part of a rival alien group, an alien group that isn't here to, maybe not even Kree related, but maybe a different alien group that's like, oh yeah, we're here to take the Earth for ourselves, but maybe they try to do something and their experiment went wrong and blew the whole Earth up. Which does beg the question, like, that is 74 years. At what point during that 74 years did that happen? I mean, I felt like it was going to be longer than what it is. It's only been 74 years, so that means, what, maybe 3 generations of people have been stuck in that whole lighthouse situation. Once again, that depends on how soon. I'd assume it had to be fairly recent for them to choose now to kind of send a team in the future. But then again, that whole monolith situation is like, well, it only works in specific times. So if they didn't do it now, they would have missed their opportunity. So, like, probably by the time the next time the monolith could be activated to travel through time, would have been like after the explosion, so it's like it needed to be now or never, so maybe it's relatively soon enough. It's also kind of interesting too that they did a little 6 months time skip, because like a lot of the DC stuff did a lot of that too, but I guess it's like a good measuring amount of increment of time in the sense of like, you know, it's kind of probably around roughly the same amount of time in between seasons, so I guess that's an easy number to kind of throw out there to kind of represent those time skips or whatever. Nevertheless. Also, really quickly, too, I do apologize. I was supposed to end this afterwards, but I totally forgot about that whole situation. I thought it's kind of interesting. We still don't know what that device is that kind of freezes everything, kind of like shuts everything down within a certain radius. But what's kind of interesting is that it seems like there's like special earplugs that it seems like it must be sound related. Or not less the devices are just meant to be plugged into your ear and they just activate like that anyway. But it seems like it might be sound related because it's like they put in those ear blockers and those agents were frozen for like half an hour, and they were long gone. So it seems like that allows you mobility. Maybe they put them in the Premiere. I don't remember, but it was just kind of interesting seeing that operating like that. So the thing must operate on some like audio frequency or something like that to kind of distort time the way it does. But nevertheless. Well, I mean, it doesn't really distort time because I guess to a certain perspective it does, but it's not like time itself freezes. It just everyone around them. I mean, we still don't know how that whole thing operates. Alien technology and all that. Nevertheless, I'm going to shut my big mouth because I meant to stop this a while back, but I like just kept going because my brain was going a little bit more because I was like, I felt like there was something else I wanted to talk about. But nevertheless, like I said, we would just have to wait till the next episode, see where any of that takes us. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.